morning.
My name is James. May I have your full name, please?
Rupali Arundikar.
Okay. And can you tell me where you're from, Rupali?
I'm from Mumbai, India.
Okay. And what shall I call you?
Rupali.
Rupali. Very good. So I'd like to begin by asking you some questions about your education. What is the education system like in your country?
We have 10 years of schooling, 2 years of junior college, and then 3 or 4 years of graduation course, depending on which course you take up. And later, whoever wants to study ahead, they could have their master's done in 2, and PhD could take a little longer than that.
Okay. What kind of school did you go to as a child?
As a child, I went to an English medium school. This is different from a convent school. The difference being it's not a church school. It would be a normal school, but with English as a primary subject.
What was your favorite subject as a child?
I would say my favorite subject, though it changed over the years, but by and large, mathematics would be my favorite subject.
Why?
Because I loved numbers, and I did pretty good academically in that, so maybe that's the reason.
Let's discuss traveling. Do you like to travel?
Yeah, though I don't get to travel very often.
Why?
It's because of my work, family commitments, and stuff like that.
What kinds of places do you like to visit when you travel?
I like visiting places which are closer to beaches and which offer me to do some kind of physical activities which would range from hiking or some kind of adventure sports.
And what is the best place you've ever visited?
The one place which I loved and that can come to my mind right now was my trip to Disney.
Okay, why?
That's because that was my first trip with my child, and he was big enough so that he can remember that for the years to come. And like they say, Disney is a magical place, so it indeed turned out to be a magical place for all of us.
Okay. And what place would you really like to travel?
I would really love to travel someday to Maldives.
Why?
Because I love, like I said, I love beaches, so that's one island place. I would love to just be myself, be away from all the hustle bustle of the city life.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about the topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So, here's some paper, a pencil, and here is your topic. So I'd like you to describe an important choice you had to make in your life. All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yep. That one important choice I had to make in my life would definitely be the career choice that I made back in my 12th grade. I had a choice to make either, the options that I had back then were to choose either from pursuing my medical course or to take up engineering as my profession, because I had done academically well in both the fields, so I had a choice then. It was a tough choice, but I went with my gut and I chose engineering as my career option. Um, how I felt back then while making the choice, definitely I was very anxious. I was overwhelmed, and since I could not see the future then, I was pretty tensed of whether I'm making the right choice or not. As once you know, once you go ahead, there's no way to come back. So those were the kind of mixed feelings that I was having back then. How I feel now about making that choice, I'm very satisfied with the choice I made back then. The part reason being I did academically well during all 4 years of my engineering. It led me to a good career option. And even when I was doing it, I could always challenge myself, learn a lot of new things, and I'm still continuing to learn a lot of things. So I think that is one reason that it gives me an opportunity to keep learning all the time, and I can challenge myself all the time is main reason why I think I made a good choice back then.
Okay. So was this choice difficult to make?
Yes, indeed, it was difficult.
Okay. And would you make the same choice again if you had to?
Yes, anytime.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about using the internet and its impact on society. I may have the paper and pencil
Sure.
back, please. Thank you. Okay. So which websites are popular among your generation?
I think the social networking sites like Facebook would be very popular among the youngsters. And once you are working and when you reach at a point in your life where social networking isn't very important, I think Google, any job websites would be the one which take a lead.
Okay. And why do you think this is?
Google, because you get answers to all your questions, and job sites is because that's one place where you can just keep looking at the trends, the market trends, what kind of technologies are being used by various companies, what kind of job opportunities are out there in the market, and what are the pay packages available.
Okay. Has the internet changed social behavior?
Yes, I think to a great extent. I remember times when I was growing up in school, we did not have any internet. So our only means of communication would be just to walk over to the person, talk to the person. So we were never in isolation. We were always surrounded by a group of people with whom we would physically talk. As opposed to today's generation, I think they are more isolated. They need not want to be surrounded by people all the time because they have easy access to internet. They prefer spending time with virtual friends more than the physical friends.
So in your country, do people tend to be more social or use social media?
I think it depends from which region of the country you belong to. In metros like Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, where there's easy access to internet, I think people are more isolated as opposed to the smaller towns where internet may not be readily available. People still resort to the older means of communication.
Should companies check job applicants' online profiles?
Yes and no. Yes, because that gives you a brief picture of image of what the person would be. And no, because you could easily fake it up.
Okay. Do people in your country typically have online profiles?
Yes, they do.
And what will be the next big development online?
It's very hard to imagine what next, but I think gaming would be something, especially in India, because it's not explored that well. But I think virtual gaming would be the next big thing.
Okay. And are you interested in these sorts of things?
No.
Finally, let's discuss successful people. How do you define success?
It's a very relative term, according to me. To a farmer, success would be if he has a good harvest and if he earns good enough money by selling that harvest for the entire year to feed his family. For a person like a Google CEO, success would be something that his shares are going up and he's doing better than his peers.
So what would success be for people from your hometown or home country?
For a working class, people who are into the jobs, for them success would be if you grow up in your professional ladder and you balance your time between your professional as well as not miss out on the family time. That would be a successful person. And to, like I said, these smaller towns wherein farming is still the primary profession out there, maybe for them success would be, having good enough money so that they could sustain the following year.
What personal characteristics do you think most successful people need to have?
I think when you start climbing up the ladder professionally, somewhere you lose track of being apologetic to people whom you've overstepped over the period of time, and also you tend to forget to acknowledge the people who help you in your journey. So I think that is one thing that everyone needs to remember over the period of time.
Okay. And do you think happiness and success are related to each other?
No, I personally don't think so.
Okay, why?
Our happiness to a child would be just being around with his mom. He need not be successful. But a successful person, like I said, again, the corporate giants, they would spend in most of the time thinking about the budget, the numbers, and the figures, and they would miss on the smaller happiness, like seeing the child walk. So I think that may not be related.
So can children be successful?
Yes, amongst their, for what they're supposed to do at that age, if they do it, yes, they are successful for that particular period of time.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This is the end of the speaking task.